Bueno, soy el abogado Alexander Cross. Aquí estoy con la doctora Cristina Catalano. Nosotros estamos en la corte de Oakland ayer porque pues en este caso ella ha sido la víctima de un delito bien serio. Ella va a hablar un poco de su situación y pues ella no habla español, pero yo voy a traducir esto y pues y ahí vamos a proceder a ver cómo va esta entrevista. So, I was going to ask you regarding court yesterday. First of all, let's explain a little bit about your background. You know, it's not relevant what you do for work. You're a doctor, but you're the victim of a criminal case. Explain to us what happened here.
Yeah. So when I was 27, I met this DJ when I moved out to this area, and we had a relationship over 3 years that became progressively abusive. The first year and a half, there was just a lot of just pathological lying, manipulation, eventually financial abuse. But a year and a half into the relationship, I realized that the kind of playful roughhousing that I experienced was really just like a foreshadowing to a lot of physical abuse, and I was raped for the first time.
So, en efecto, ella está diciendo que cuando ella tenía 27 años, ella conoció a un muchacho que era un músico y pues empezó un noviazgo, pero durante el curso del noviazgo pues había mucho abuso, incluyendo abuso sexual. Inicialmente porque era un noviazgo, ella pues en efecto perdonaba esto, pero eventualmente las cosas se pusieron un poco físicas. Ahora a este punto estamos hablando de alegaciones porque ese aspecto todavía no ha ido a la corte. Now, let me ask you this. In terms of what he's being accused of formally, at this point in the state of California, what has he been accused of formally?
He's been accused of breaking the restraining order that was put in place that I had requested due to recurring rape and assault, but formally he's being accused of breaking the restraining order, disobeying it.
Okay. So en efecto está diciendo que él ha violado una orden de restricción que fue impuesta en otro estado por haberla violado supuestamente en otro estado. Y pues aquí en California, si una persona desobedece una orden de la corte, eso es un delito bajo el Código Penal sección 273.6 que conlleva una pena potencial de hasta 1 año en la cárcel del condado. I'm going to ask you, in terms of yesterday, when you went to court, what was your overall experience? Le estoy preguntando cuál fue su experiencia en general estando ahí en la corte para la primera fecha de corte de este muchacho. What's your experience? What was your experience like, your first court date?
To be honest, I was really scared. I was really scared to come back into Oakland because the last time I was here, he found me. And the time before when I was in the Bay Area in San Francisco, he had also found me. So I was very scared and very uncomfortable being in a room around him, and just, yeah, I really didn't want to be around him, but I also felt like it was very important to be there and to know what protection could happen for me.
Okay. Ahora, ella está mencionando que pues obviamente tenía mucho miedo estando ahí en la corte, porque en el pasado cuando ella había llegado a la ciudad de Oakland, él la había encontrado, también cuando ella estaba en San Francisco, él también la encontró. Y pues tenía mucho miedo estando en el mismo cuarto con la misma persona que supuestamente la abusó y que supuestamente la violó. I was going to ask you also, while you were in court as a victim, you spoke with a victim advocate. Le estoy diciendo que cuando ella estaba ahí en la corte habló con una persona que se encarga de ayudar a las víctimas de delitos. What was it exactly that he said that the state could offer you to help you?
Yeah, he said that the state could offer me some assistance in relocation, as well as therapy, and covering the cost of therapy for me to get help there, and then also compensate lost work.
Okay. So en efecto, el Estado le está ofreciendo a ella como una víctima compensación por pérdida de trabajo y también por gastos de relocalización para irse a otro sitio, posiblemente a otro estado, y también por costos de médicos y costos psiquiátricos, psicológicos. So let me ask you a question. Did you get a chance to speak with the district attorneys? Le estoy preguntando si ya tuvo la oportunidad de poder hablar con los fiscales.
Yes, I did actually. When I was checked into the room, I let them know my name and that I was a victim of this person. And the person who was checking people in brought me over to the district attorneys to speak with them and let them know that I was scared that this person was trying to locate me and wanted to see what I could best do to prevent that and protect myself from that.
Okay. En efecto está diciendo pues que los fiscales sí hablaron con ella y que en efecto estaban tratando de determinar lo que ellos podían hacer para ayudarle a ella. Obviamente ella le tenía miedo porque pues y al fin ellos le pidieron al juez que impusieran una orden de protección criminal para que en caso de que él se acerque a ella o si él trata de tener comunicación con ella por medio de una tercera parte, incluyendo no solo por medio de solo él mismo, que él se está enfrentando a una pena de hasta 1 año en la cárcel del condado. So, let me ask you a question. In terms of what happened in the state of, Hawaii, with regards to the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, what can you tell us regarding that? And also, is there any evidence or is there any confession regarding what supposedly took place? Le estoy preguntando más específicamente con respecto a el abuso sexual que ocurrió en el estado de Hawái y también si existe algo de evidencia o una confesión de este muchacho.
So the physical and sexual abuse at the level that it got to, the criminal level that it got to, was going on for a bit over a year. And during the last few months, I had initially attempted no contact with this person, but then it was necessary to continue to contact due to work and demands for communication in order to get the remaining of my belongings from his house. The last a few of the last times that I spoke with him, I recorded these conversations, and in these recordings he apologized, which he had apologized before, but he apologized for the things that he did to me, for the assault that he did to me, the sexual assault that he did to me, and in various different ways at various different times in more than one recording.
En efecto ella está diciendo que pues estaban por 1 año pues ellos estaban juntos por 3 años, pero por uno de esos años él la estaba abusando sexualmente y él estaba quedándose con propiedad de ella pues para tener una excusa de poder continuar de tener contacto con ella, aunque ella quería parar de tener contacto con él. Y pues eventualmente pues tuvieron una conversación ellos donde ella supuestamente grabó y que él le estaba pidiendo las disculpas por haberla violado y cosas así. Y en el estado de Hawái es perfectamente legal grabar a las personas cuando las personas están en una conversación con otra persona, que es una cosa que no es legal aquí en el estado de California. Es ilegal grabar a las personas en secreto en California, pero en el estado de Hawái es perfectamente legal. What I was just mentioning right now is that in the state of California, it is not legal to record people in secret. However, in the state of Hawaii, as long as you are part of the conversation, it is perfectly legal and law enforcement has the right to use it. And as far as you're concerned, law enforcement already has copies of those recordings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. And, because obviously we're talking about the criminal case, I'm a criminal lawyer and usually I'm on the other side. Estoy mencionando pues que estamos hablando del caso penal. Yo soy abogado criminalista, generalmente yo estoy al otro lado porque yo le ayudo a las personas que son arrestadas por haber cometido delitos generalmente. But what I was going to ask is, okay, aside from the criminal case, what else have you suffered regarding just your general life or at work or just what you do? Le estoy preguntando que, aparte de lo que pasó con el caso criminal, que ella fue violada y técnicamente secuestrada y violada, ¿qué le ha pasado a ella pues, en su vida personal por consecuencia de lo que supuestamente ocurrió?
Yeah, so I am a doctor of physical therapy, but I was also working in the realm of dance retreats and holding spaces for people to really understand their bodies and things like that. And in a lot of ways, I was doing this with that person. When I got to a place where I felt like the danger was too high, and I was, being encouraged by the people who cared about me in my life to get safety. I did ask for a temporary restraining order. As soon as it was granted, that same night, like within hours of when it was served to him, I received very aggressive messages from the person who we rented a space from, who also owned the community where I spent the majority of my time and life in, where she let me know that I should not come back to the property, and also that she had signed a contract with Gabriel, and she removed me from the work. And not only removed me, but she also claimed that I never even ran the dance with him, and completely removed my contributions from the visible community around us. It was incredibly confusing and painful. I felt very shamed specifically for having gone to the police. I felt very encouraged by her to lift the restraining order, which I knew was not safe for me to do. And this person didn't speak with me. She would not talk to me on the phone. This was just aggressive messaging. Like, moving forward from there, I experienced a lot of distress while living there in Hawaii, and I was attempting to get back and form new work, but at every corner I met different obstacles. Specifically, that woman was standing up for him and communicating in defense of him without a phone call with me. And eventually, the day that I was going for the hearing to get the restraining order, I received messages letting me know that they were going to hold a one-sided forum for him. And when I informed them that was not going to be really truly safe for me to do the day after the restraining order, and that I was going to court to ask for that restraining order to be completed that day, they did not lift it. They did not lift the forum. So I got a restraining order. The next day, a large group was invited into a private space for this person who assaulted me to slander me and say things about me that I would never even hear or know what they were to be able to defend myself. And the two people who were with me in court, who could have actually confirmed what was said in court as far as the restraining order was dictating, were not allowed to be there.
Ella en efecto me estaba mencionando detalles de cosas que habían ocurrido, que pues en efecto eran barreras completas para poder continuar con su vida. Había muchas personas que en efecto aprecian a este muchacho, lo quieren, es una persona bien conocida donde hace su trabajo, y por consecuencia, en vez de pues quitarlo a él, aunque había evidencia de estas cosas, en efecto prefirieron pues que ella ya no fuera parte de su comunidad y que ella ya no podía estar en la propiedad, y en efecto personas entraron a soportarlo, aunque claramente había evidencia de que él era pues culpable por haber cometido la falta. Ahora, todo esto estoy mencionando que son alegaciones porque el aspecto criminal todavía no se ha aprobado en corte, pero definitivamente hay ciertas cosas que sugiere pues potencialmente un resultado negativo para este acusado. So, let me ask you, and what would you, at the end of the day, what is it that you would want people to know about all of this? Because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm interviewing you regarding, for me on my end, it's a criminal case, but your focus is obviously your life. Me, we have to look at it coldly. We just look at, guilty, not guilty. We look at the charges. We look at the elements of the crime. That's about it. Like, this is the first time really that I've gone in depth with the victim of a crime. Usually I don't even focus on the victim of the crime at all, because my focus is on helping the person who supposedly committed the crime. But this is kind of a first time for me. So the question I have is, what would you want in general for people to know? At the end of the day, what is it that you want people to know about all this?
Yeah, I want people to know that, at least for me, what it took for me to even consider going to the police or doing anything to legally protect myself was quite extreme. Like, I was going through this for over a year before I even went to the police, before I even started telling people. And I told some friends because I really truly didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to make sense of what was happening in my life, and I needed some people in my life to talk to understand. And I went to the police because shortly after I started communicating with a few people, this person who was assaulting me understood that this was happening and became increasingly aggressive, increasingly trying to extort me, withholding money from me, trying to get me to sign away our shared work and my art. But then he assaulted me at a greater degree, and it was incredibly scary. I was injured, and at that point, all I knew to do was to go to the police. And even when I went to the police, I was still scared. And I was scared to really communicate my full experience to the police. So what I want people to understand is that it, at least in my case, it took a lot to get there. And I do believe that if a victim goes to the police and reports something, it is very important that people take that person seriously and give them space to communicate what happened to them in a safe place.
Okay. So, en efecto, lo que está diciendo como una víctima de un delito es que ella quiere que la gente entienda que es súper difícil para mucha gente ir a la policía a reportar delitos, en particular cuando estamos hablando de cosas sexuales, y que cuando la gente pues no debería de ser una barrera para ir a la policía. Y en efecto le está diciendo que la gente que son víctimas de delitos, que definitivamente vayan a la policía, que lo reporten y que entiendan que pues que hay recursos para estas cosas, similar a personas que son acusadas por haber cometido delitos, tienen que ir a los abogados penalistas como yo. La policía y la fiscalía está ahí para ayudar a las víctimas. Is there anything else that you want to say as a closure?
Yeah, so I think the most distressing thing is when people have tried to interfere with the restraining order, forcing me into group chats with him. And also informing him of my location. And it allowed him to manipulate people and say that he's not going to use it to find me, but he did use it to find me. People should not be interfering with a restraining order. If it's in place, do not put the person in group chats. Do not try to figure out where they are, no matter what the person who harmed them is saying. Do not tell them. And more than anything, don't interfere. Just allow the legal process to happen. And if you feel a need to comfort the victim or the assaultant as a friend, that's fine. But just being very careful not to essentially put more stress and distress and danger onto the victim by interfering with what they did to protect themselves.
All right. Well,
thank you.
You're welcome.